All right, so before we get to our panel, which, by the way, doesn't involve a senator, instead maybe a future senator from the Northern Territory. We'll get to him in a moment or two's time. First, just quickly about The Voice, I want to give you some details today that we got the latest voter rolls, and since the federal election last year, you had until 8 p.m. tonight to register to vote, to be a new voter in this referendum. And according to my look at the numbers, they'll be confirmed again tomorrow. About 336,000 people have now joined the electoral roll since the last federal election, meaning a whole new crop of voters, mostly, of course, about the age of 18. And will they be decisive in which way this thing goes? Well, we'll all learn together. Also, in the AFLW match that played out this weekend in Brisbane, there was a ridiculous situation where a woman who was wearing a Yes T-shirt was denied entry to the game because we don't want politics here. Look, regardless of whether you are yes or no in this thing, if people want to wear political T-shirts to any type of event, be it the Australian Open or be it something like AFLW or Rugby League, good luck to you. If people try to organise little pockets of fans to make a wider political point, not cool. But the idea that we're telling people that T-shirt's not appropriate, please, we live in a free country. We'll talk about that with Jacinta a little bit later in the show. But Matt Cunningham is, of course, joining us from none other than the Northern Territory, and Matt Canavan's colleague in the Federal Parliament is, of course, none other than Barnaby Joyce. They both join us now. All right. Sorry, names are obviously so complicated for me here. All right, lads, lovely to see you. How have we been?
I've just got back from Bundaberg. I am absolutely splendid. Any better, I'd be arrested.
The way we like it. Matt, Darwin, don't you love the idea that, of course, the whole country's going to have this conversation about yes or no, but the territory doesn't really matter in terms of the majority of states. They don't count because they're not a state. So how do people in the territory feel about this national conversation where their vote kind of half counts?
Well, it's probably why they're not very engaged, Paul, to be honest with you. 70,000 Aboriginal Territorians whose vote, I mean, they're saying it kind of half counts. It really doesn't count at all unless it comes down to the narrowest of margins for the national vote. So, you know, the vote in the Northern Territory means nothing. Just a quick point too on you calling me Matt Canavan before the break. I once got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning from Barnaby Joyce, and I thought, why on earth is Barnaby Joyce calling me at 5 o'clock in the morning? Well, I can tell you, he's looking for Matt Canavan. My wife wasn't too impressed. I'll give you the tip.
I love it. Fantastic, fantastic.
You're safe. You're safe. You're safe, Matt.
Safe for now. All right. Now, lads, let's get to a whole bunch of stuff I want to get to this evening, including, according to Megan Davis, one of the people who's part of the Yes campaign, she says that the ABC's been grossly unfair last week because it had more than one no supporter on its news coverage. Barnaby, has anyone actually done an audit of the ABC coverage? Because I'm pretty sure no would be the minority interviewed, and they're certainly not the people that don't get interrupted more than anyone else on the ABC at the moment.
I'd have to say Megan's unique. She is the only person on planet Earth that thinks that the ABC is biased towards the right. Let us remind everybody that the ABC, when one of the most powerful press club speeches in my time in politics was running, Jacinta Namatjira-Price, the ABC was working out whether they were going to run it. They were going to run it. I mean, I don't know what we're about to see, something about gardening or something like that. You know, the ABC, every time you watch the Insiders, and I listen to the ABC and I watch the ABC because I always want to know what the enemy is saying. And the thing that's so unsubtle about it, that at a doorstop you go to, you just hear a reverberation and a regurgitation of exactly what you heard on Radio National as you're driving to work. And I love them for that. They're very good like that. But really, truly, the ABC is biased towards Barnaby Joyce, Matt Canavan and Jacinta. I don't think so. No, that is not the case.
Yeah, correct. Now, Matt, obviously, you're straight down the line on this stuff, but just, again, you know, any political campaign is always generally starting to get itself into trouble when they're bitching about however the media is covering them. Remember, this thing started off at 70-30, 60-40, and now it's sub 50%. And if it does end up being no, then you can imagine what the sort of Lovey's entrails are going to be about this media outlet and this post. What about this for an idea? The Yes campaign is currently failing to convince a number of Australians their proposal is the right one, and the No campaign is currently attracting more Australians to agree with them that this isn't the right thing to do. God forbid, that's democracy.
Well, that's the way it's playing out at the moment. And the other thing that was bizarre about Megan Davis's tweet is that it was because insiders had Warren Mundine on for an interview. Now, if you've seen any of the fallout from that over the past 24 hours, it hasn't been great for Warren Mundine or for the No campaign. I mean, there used to be this idea in journalism when I started 20 years ago that you tried to get both sides of the story. You tried to tell both sides of any debate. Now, a few years ago, and I think it started in the United States, they started with this idea of sort of both-siding, you know, and that was a bad thing, to both side something. And the idea was that if there was a topic that, you know, on which one side was so morally superior or so right, you know, you weren't allowed to tell the other side of the story. And there have been issues like climate change and Donald Trump. And, you know, now we see some of the activists when it comes to the idea of the voice, you know, putting forward the same idea that we should only be telling one side of this story.